inauthentic to who you are and treating people as like a commodity or something that just serves you for whatever purpose, then you will be successful if you avoid those things.
I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm fucking lazy as shit. And I promise I'm not going to do work in my area of expertise. Like, I'm going to own a business and pay other people to do it. You know what I mean? Like, own up to it. Own up to the fact that you don't want to be held accountable. Own up to the fact that you want to act like a fucking toddler and throw a tantrum whenever, or come up with this idea whenever, or change the direction of the company at this time, like at random spurts every 30 days, and just have an excuse for it. I'm an entrepreneur. Get fucked.
So honestly, Emma's fired up.
Hi, welcome to another fucking episode of Fuck Your Podcast.
Damn.
I'm Emma Pardo.
I'm Katy Martin, and apparently you're fired up about something.
We're going to talk about today. We're going to discuss the facade and over glorification of entrepreneurs.
Like what?
I am tired of seeing content.
What triggered you? What triggered you this week?
I am tired of seeing content that is like, if you know an entrepreneur, they're going through this, or if you know an entrepreneur, this is the reason why they act like this, or like it's like glorifying toxic behavior and then slapping the word entrepreneur on it and just going, it's okay. Just because you know somebody that is an entrepreneur does not mean that they fucking invented water. Okay. They just own a business. They seek business ventures. Why do we have to glorify what an entrepreneur? I don't go walking around because Katy, you and I are entrepreneurs. We own a business. That's basically what it is, right? We sought this business venture. We're doing it. We're doing the damn thing. I don't expect Cole to walk around and me be a complete fucking asshole to him and then him go, it's just because you're an entrepreneur. Like, no, I don't have toxic behavior.
Okay. I get what you're saying now. So.
Why are we glorifying this? Being an entrepreneur is not like the next best thing since sliced bread. Like, I just don't understand. Why are we doing this? Why are we creating content and creating a society where it's like, he's an entrepreneur or she's an entrepreneur? Work. Like, no, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, I never looked at my parents as like, because they own the bowling alley. I'm never like, oh my God, that's the reason why they act the way they act. No,
you can't. You still can't be a dick. You know what's funny? I saw a clip of a TV show where it was like a really wealthy man and his daughter, and like they're sitting at the dinner table, and the guy that she's decided to date, he came over to meet her parents, and he's like, so what do you do for a living? And he's like, oh, well, I'm an entrepreneur. Or what does your dad do for a living? He goes, well, he's an entrepreneur. He goes, oh, so that's code for unemployed.
I mean, when you keep slapping entrepreneur on it, like, I don't ever introduce myself like, hi, I'm Emma Pardo, I'm an entrepreneur, or hi, like, I'm just like,
I think
you get asked what you do for a living. Hi, I own and operate a digital marketing agency.
Right. Like, I don't say I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not saying I'm an entrepreneur. I say like I own a business. I own a business that provides a living for myself and for people on my team. Like, that's the way that I look at it. And are there opportunities like to invest in other businesses? Like, yeah, those things are now coming along with as long as I've been in coaching, but I don't know if I'm ever going to jump into a full on. Well, and here's the difference. I don't necessarily like the concept and the definition of entrepreneur is not a bad thing. It's right now this cultural thing that's turning it into a like justifying a like you said, toxic personality traits. It's kind of like if you get into anything, like the people, no offense, anybody out there who does CrossFit, but like people who do CrossFit, like they're
always talk about CrossFit.
Yeah. So it's like the thing that's frustrating to me, and this is like the far caricature side of like these people who say I'm an entrepreneur, is that I can go do whatever I want. I have to work in flow. Like I can't be constrained by a calendar, but if it's not on my calendar, I don't know.
But it's literally just like, I do this because I'm an entrepreneur, not going, I do this because I'm not accountable for fucking shit.
Right. It's basically saying that's like, I behave this way because I just can't be held accountable, which means I'm not a good employee. I'm probably, not a good leader. Like, if your mindset is on that, there's a whole, it's basically, I run a business and I'm a narcissist.
Right. But here's the thing, it's like, if you're gonna do it, why are we glorifying it as entrepreneur? Because you're giving a bad rap for all the other entrepreneurs that are honest people, honest hard workers. Why are we not just going, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm fucking lazy as shit, and I promise I'm not gonna do work in my area of expertise. Like, I'm going to own a business and pay other people to do it. You know what I mean? Like, own up to it. Own up to the fact that you don't want to be held accountable. Own up to the fact that you want to act like a fucking toddler and throw a tantrum whenever, or come up with this idea whenever, or change the direction of the company at this time, like at random spurts every 30 days, and just have an excuse for it. I'm an entrepreneur. Get fucked.
So honestly, Emma's fired up. And I think this also is, so there's a difference. Okay. So if you look at, so this is how this is glorified, right? It's the misconception that the person who is a successful entrepreneur, who has a team of people to do the things that they are not meant to do, or do the things they're not good at, that it just automatically happened. And so that's not the case, because I can tell you, based on some of the people who kind of have that social persona that they're an entrepreneur, they run a company, but what you don't see is, because now they've achieved this status, and not necessarily a status, but they now have this online profile that people are following, and they put out content, and they have a large following, that they didn't work their asses off to get there. And there's a distinction in that behavior between the people who actually fucking earned it versus the ones who start a company, and just from the time of its inception, because you started a company, that you're an entrepreneur and you can now behave in such a way as the people who earned the right to behave in such a way. And I guarantee you, the people that are here with that large team didn't treat people like shit to get there.
And then say, oh, it's just because I'm an entrepreneur.
No, you can't justify bad behavior by that. I mean, I think that's the difference between somebody who owns a business, who actually has leadership capability, and the people who start a business. There are so many ways to run a business. And that's the thing that I'm seeing, especially being connected with a lot of female business owners, is that there's so much uniqueness out there, that there is not one cookie cutter path to success. And the faster that people realize that, and as opposed to starting to emulate someone else, being inauthentic to who you are, and treating people as like a commodity or something that just serves you for whatever purpose, then you will be successful if you avoid those things. And that's a huge distinction between a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space. Do they have a team or do they not?
Right.
Like, if they have a team of people, they have people who believe in them, and the leaders of those organizations are treating those people well. If you went from having a team of 20 to 25 people and you now do not, likely you are the source of the problem. And it's not because you're an entrepreneur, it's because you're an asshole.
Well, here's the thing too, and this is the only, like, the closest thing that I can correlate this behavior to, and we talked about this early on. It was one of our first episodes.
Yeah.
Is this behavior is that of the 1950s household structure. It really is. It's going, whether you're the entrepreneur or the visionary and the integrator, it's like the visionary has to be the male figure in the 1950s and the integrator has to be the female figure in the household structure, right? So looking at the integrator, I swear to God, it's like having the visionary be the male figure. So you got the providing, so going to work and coming home and expecting it all to be like, why isn't the house clean? Dinner has to be ready on the table and there's got to be a drink in my hand.
Well,
5 minutes before I walk in the door, it needs to be ready. And the integrator is the one that's like, okay, I'll get it done. It's just that same, do you see what I'm trying to put together?
It's the same, it's kind of the same mentality, but I think that's rare. But the fact of the matter is that we've seen it, right?
Right.
So I don't really think that that's the norm. Like, when you have a real integrator visionary partnership that's real and authentic, those people are typically partners. They're running side by side. They're not, hey, you go make the mess and I clean it up. And I'm going to throw the spaghetti against the wall. And if some of it doesn't stick, you're just the one who gets to clean it up off the floor.
Right.
Like that, there's a huge distinction here. And so this was something too, I was going to bring Justin on the podcast. Like, we were going to record one, specifically.
Which you still should.
And we might do it Friday, but it's that whole thing of this husband and wife dynamic when you own a business, is that there are labels that are like, you're expected to make some sort of sacrifice sacrifice to who you are, and you base your personality around supporting your spouse who's a business owner. And you just typically see this really weird, it's super weird and it's super creepy and it's super cringy and it puts women back fucking 30 years or more than that, 40, 50 years of just the blind support. Now, there's nothing wrong with being supportive of your spouse, but that dynamic can be, the male could be the business owner, the female could be the business owner. You could have a same sex.
Here's the thing, that what happened to like coexisting, because this is what I see from my mom and stepdad owning a business together, is my stepdad brings what he can to the table. My mom, I almost said stepmom. My mom brings what she can to the table, and they coexist and fill in the blanks where the other one can't, but have that equal level of authority.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't even know if it's necessarily authority. I think it's just misconstrued expectation. I think it's this whole thing of, if your spouse is working their, and honestly, this has nothing to do with business ownership. So we talked about this before. If you're in a relationship, right? If you're in a marriage, if you're in a long-term relationship, I don't care if you're married or not. And it doesn't matter if it's a man and a woman. It doesn't matter if it's a woman and a woman. I don't care. It's a partnership, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have collectively made the decision that one person is the breadwinner and the other person is the homemaker, so to speak, like that's the person who takes care of the household responsibilities and ultimately the primary responsibilities of the children, that's a decision that you make together. And then then you should support one another, because just because that person's not creating income doesn't mean that they're not helping run your household. Like it's still a partnership. So there's support both ways. So just to say that support is one-sided, or that support should be even more, is because that person owns a business is kind of bonkers. Don't create, I mean, but honestly, this is like a part of being in a relationship is like, don't cause the other person more stress. Don't cause the other person more work. Like, effectively communicate, don't make my life harder. And that's how we coexist together, and that's how we don't fight. But just this thing of, there's this blind support. And especially if you're working in the business, your voice is just as important as just because he or their name is on the business itself. If you're helping them operate it, then that changes that dynamic. So then there's more conversations that are involved, especially when it comes to money and investments and how that affects your household, how that affects your family. Yeah, but I think that just comes to the point of, there's a lot of people who get into business for themselves or get into coaching or for the wrong reasons. Like if you're either in what you're in because you legitimately enjoy it. And granted, not every single business out there in the world is going to impact the masses. It's not going to change the world. Like, doesn't mean it's not important what you do, but let's just be fucking real. Like, the level of importance.
I'm sorry, but if you have any sort of, we're going to change the world in your business plan, your SEO is going to fucking suck. I say that with respect. I say that because I care, but I'm just saying, we believe in you. We think you change your world, world,
and not the world. Change the world of the people around you. But that your new $9.97 coaching program is going to shock the world. I mean, it's going to impact the people that you want to impact based on the passion that you have teaching that. So, or what you do. And the thing that I was talking about earlier, so this kind of coincides with what we talked about in our team meeting this morning, specifically about cult-like environments versus culture-based environments.
If you are looking to, it's like, I love that meme that it's like me at my job and they know they're in a cult-based job. Like it's just that personality, and it's Darth Vader is the CEO. The rest of the employees are stormtroopers that are like drinking the Kool-Aid, and then it's fucking Big Bird. And I'm like, me as fuck. That's me. It's just, I love that meme because there's, being in it, I never thought I would be exposed to that. Like, I never, like, first off, I didn't even know it was a thing until I got like into the working world. And when I experienced it, it was just like, what the fuck is this? And like, it just, nothing brings people together than feeling out of place in a cult.
Right. Well, the whole meme of nobody, like coworkers become best friends because of their trauma bond.
It literally is. It's all trauma based. And that's just because it makes me mad. Okay. You just don't have to glorify, like, look at this entrepreneur, or this is my entrepreneur and he does this or she does this and blah, 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 blah. Stop.
Well, just stop. The thing that I don't like is don't make that your entire fucking personality, because it's boring and it's one dimensional and it's about as deep as a puddle. And two, don't let that excuse bad behavior. Like that's the key thing. Like you can't utilize, and this kind of goes for any type of business. It could be not necessarily your thought about yourself, but your position of authority like doesn't justify bad behavior. And the quote unquote culture that you're trying to build can't justify bad behavior. And you can't build a company around, like, you're trying to create something exclusive, but are you excluding people based on really bad principles? Like, are you excluding people based on skin color? Are you excluding people based on sexual orientation? Are you excluding people
on politics and not their skill set?
So here's the thing. There is something to be said about, hey, based on the product that we sell, based on the service we provide, historically, the best performers we've ever had on the team might be men, might be women. Like, there's something to be said for data. Now, is it scientific because that no one in that particular gender could ever do better? But no, but you can do things you can repeat things based on data. You could build something based on data. Who's likely going to be the best fit for this environment without it being so negative, right?
Right. So here's the thing. It's like, if you're building a business and you're requiring a certain look, like I'm talking like a corporate, like in office. I'm not talking about like a rep or like, for example, roofing companies having everybody in uniform. No. If this is an office job and you know that your employees are not going to be seeing anybody, they're not going to be posted on the social media and need to be specifically branded, why are you making them wear a specific uniform to work every day? Because you're worried about how the company looks to the outside, not what the company is giving to the outside.
Yeah, what you're trying to portray to the outside doesn't match the feel of the inside.
Right.
Like, that's a whole other list of issues. It's more of the things being forced that aren't natural. So uniforms were one example, but honestly, the example that we were using was Walmart, and Sam Walton was really fascinated by Eastern business culture. And it was but this also goes into the culture of the entire country, so to speak. So you can't necessarily he was taking Eastern practices and trying to shove them into a Western capitalist type of business because their culture was submissive and it was easy to indoctrinate people. So ultimately, when corporations wanted to implement a company culture, it was with the whole thing of, if we can indoctrinate their thought process and their mindset, then we can control their performance. And if we can't control if we can't control their brain, we can't control it was like a weird combination of micromanagement, but it's brainwashing. So that's why you see things like, I hate using all the buzzwords, but that's why you see things in some of these big companies. And if you watch all of the content creators right now that are career coaches, they focus on things like gaslighting because it's part of the indoctrination, or the forced quote unquote fun events. Or now, are there team building events? Sweet. If we were having a team building event, what do you think the first thing that I would do? If I said, Emma, we should have a team building event, what do you think the first thing I would do would be?
I mean, you'd include the team on what they want to do for team building.
Right. You ask the fucking team what they would find valuable for team building. And it's not like you could bring in, hey, I think this particular speaker would be beneficial to like bring in and speak to your team. Like that, there's nothing wrong with that. That shows that you're trying to invest in the company, but you have to know the tone.
When you ask the company, your team, how would you guys feel about doing this for team building? And you get no response. That is a response.
That is a response. Yeah.
That does not mean you take your idea and go, okay, we're going to do it anyway. And you have no option.
Yeah.
And you're going to do it and you're going to fucking hate it. But it's because I'm God.
Well, silence is a response. So
right. That's the thing and that goes the same, like on a side note, that goes the same for content creation and like the type of message that you're putting out. It goes the same with your audience. Silence is an answer on 100%.
Right.
Internally and externally, it's an answer.
Yep. So it's more of a fake, like I get where you're going, because a lot of what you're seeing is it's a whole lot of bravado online. It's not like, and that's why we see so much of it. It's like, another white dude with a podcast. I bet you're an entrepreneur.
That's how why we created this podcast, because it's like,
I bet you're and that's that whole thing of like having core. I find core values in a company important, but I also find core values to be important to really about who the people are. So if you have a core value and like 10 of your 12 people read that and go, oh, that doesn't fucking make sense, we don't do that here, then that's a problem. Like that's a problem at the company level. I'm like, my core values at the end of the day, those are important to me. Like that's important to me. That's so you guys know. Is everybody going to jive with all of them? No. And does that mean that they're a bad employee? Absolutely not. So it can't be this all or nothing, drink the Kool-Aid, I'm all in, and I can't do anything else. Like I can't do anything in my free time except for what everybody else does in their free time. That just removes the life and the personality out of having diverse people on the team. And maybe that's what you don't want. But at the end of the day, you're going to struggle. Like you're going to struggle with keeping a team like that. But that whole entrepreneur,
it's a facade. It's a facade. To label yourself as entrepreneur and that does not be your, I don't know, what's the word I'm thinking of? That's not just your like occupation. It's just entrepreneur and that's your personality. There's kind of a problem.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's not a personality trait. Just like, I mean, at the end of the day, you're probably a narcissist or you're a covert narcissist.
Right.
Like, you think you're helping people by controlling them. And you think that you get no support because you're not. And the way that covert narcissists work is that they actually do try. They put out the facade that they're trying to help people and they do things for people. And in exchange for doing things for people, they can be really fucking shitty on the other side. And they use it as a method of control. And unfortunately, a lot of business owners do that because it's about them. So, I don't want to I think our culture is very positive because it's a culture. It's a lifestyle. We all have things in common. We all enjoy what we do. It's not about, like I said, reciting the core values on our team meetings. It's about actually enjoying working with the people that you're working and you enjoy the work. Is it changing the world? No, but it's impacting clients that we have.
It's also seeing our employees as people and not just assets. Yeah, they're like your employees are your assets in a business when you're looking on paper, but they're people. You have to.
Well, if they're assets, they're the most valuable ones we have.
Right.
So, I mean, the assets are the most, like the people, if you're going to categorize your team as assets, they're the most important ones that you have. So if you treat them as an expense, if you're looking at your P&L constantly, or you're going, I can't this person's got to justify their payroll. Well, if they're not doing their job, they're not doing their job, but you can't look at every single person on your team that way. So, but yeah, that's frustrating because you just see that shit on social media. And that's why being in marketing, it's like a love-hate relationship with social media. Because we actually do love it. And as far as, in essence, we love it because it's a way to help these people grow their businesses. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's the part that's the reward that we get. Like, did they get 20 more leads this month than they did last month? Yep. That's what we're trying to do. Did their revenue increase? If it's 3%, if it's 10%, if it's 50%, as long as it's growing, we can work on speed. But that's the impact that I'm trying to make. And if it's just with fucking 20 people over the course of the year, that's fine for me.
Right.
That's fine for me. Other opportunities grow from just doing something consistently. So I'm not trying to live the entrepreneur lifestyle.
Right.
I about cracked up. I'm not going to name any names, but there was a video. There was a video put out by an influencer. Let's just call him an influencer, talking about how he was talking about it. So this is an influencer talking about influencers, but all of you are out here bitching about these influencers that, flashing their planes and their cars and their houses. But you just keep paying them. Maybe if you stop paying them and,
but also wasn't that the same influencer that was doing that last year?
Well, he used to do it. I was like, I don't think I ever saw.
Maybe he got a reality check.
One person, maybe. I mean, I was trying to take it with a grain of salt, but then I scrolled up to the next video and it was like him getting out of a Lamborghini in front of his private plane. I was like,
right.
Come on, in the same scroll, buddy, in the same scroll. I don't know. But I mean, the difference is I can see some substance that guy's built, but it's the whole thing of just do it. Practice what you preach. People are going to catch on. I mean, that's why you talk about making money. People get sucked in. It's just making money, losing weight, working from home. I don't know, whatever the typical things that are easy to manipulate people. But those are the catchy ones.
Anyway, if you want to hear a specific topic, if you are looking for advice, if you just want to chat, you could always reach out to us on Instagram at F__K your pod, or you can always email me at Emma@99creatives or Katy at
99 creatives.
It's been a pleasure, I guess, once again. I mean, we're coming up on we're getting close to almost a year of this podcast. We're at 10 months.
Yeah, that's bananas.
So, anywho, for all of those listening, don't forget to do the damn thing. Okay, bye.
Adios.